Good morning, Jacob York. How are you?
How you doing?
Good. Thank you for being available. Can you just give us a little background on who you are for those who may not be familiar with you? You have extensive history within the music industry.
Yes, sir. I've been in the music industry for 20 years. I've gone out of that and gone into films and producing films and television now. I'm representing talent, obviously.
Okay.
But worked with a lot of your favorite rappers over my years, worked with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I also grew up in what you call the Black Revolutionary Movement.
Yes. Yes.
The son of a very prominent Black leader.
Okay, so now you are the son of Dr. York. He was convicted. He is doing life in the penitentiary. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is true. You have to realize, like, growing up with my father was growing up with a discomfort with people because you had to deal with the fact that your father was molesting all your friends, right?
Okay.
So it was one of those unique places where you're torn between your loyalty to your father and your loyalty to your family. And growing up in the Black Power movement, we were taught that police was bad, white people were bad, teachers are bad, everybody's bad, right? Okay. So you're taught to, like, keep these things to yourself.
So you are confirming that your father, Dr. York, was molesting your male friends?
He was molesting female and male friends.
Okay. And
he was indiscriminate.
Okay. And where are you with regards to the order of Dr. York's sons? Are you the eldest?
No. I'm not the eldest.
Okay.
I think I came to more prominence because he made me his target,
Okay.
Because I was one of the people that decided not to support him.
Okay.
And because, I can accept, the movement and supporting a lot of things, but the attack on children, I can't support. And I'm not speaking from allegations of he may have done it. I'm speaking from he did do it. And I know he did it, and I saw him do it.
So you are confirming that your father, was a serial rapist?
Yes, and a molester.
Okay.
Yes, he was a pedophile and a predator. Yes, this is a fact. And the reality is most people within our organization, a lot of people knew it. A lot of people within my family knows it. They confirm it. They know it to be factual, but they feel like it's a true embarrassment on the family. Me personally, I just ignored. I didn't really go out publicly with it.
Right.
I just legitimately just supported my friends because I don't think people seem to realize that a lot of the people that he molested were my actual friends. So it's a very hard place. I was torn between people that were my close friends or they were my friends' sisters or my friends' brothers, guys that I grew up with from birth. So I was torn between, supporting my dad and turning my back on these people that I grew up with from birth.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So there was that thing. So what I did was instead of going after him per se, I would confront him about it.
Just some cracker sheriff who's not smart enough to play the game.
York opens the laptop and turns it on.
Look here.
York displays a screen with a Tamaray website, prominently featuring York in his pharaoh costume.
And my computer lady set this up. Nuwaupians all over the world are responding to our call for aid. Beats the hell out of sending folks out on the street to sell shit.
What's all this new stuff? You don't feel funny after all these years dressing like a Muslim?
Hell, I'd dress up like a nun to pull this kind of jack.
Malik drains his drink, then refuses a refill.
I came here because I've been hearing some bad things about you.
Like what?
Like you've been messing with the kids.
York puts his glasses down loudly.
I don't like talking about that.
And I don't like hearing about it.
York rubs his temple.
Oh, they're so tempting. It's so easy.
Malik sneers and bangs the table.
I'm talking about children here. Children who are taught to worship you since before they could read. Are you crazy or what?
York sighs and looks upward.
Oh, maybe I am. Maybe I'm the Prince of Darkness, but I'm getting things under control. I swear.
Malik stands up.
I stopped buying your bullshit a long time ago, Pops.
Malik takes a step, but York grabs his arm.
Where are you going, man?
Not far.
Hey, stop, Malik. They all still love me. You can ask any of them.
And that's the saddest part. These people gave you their money, their labor, their loyalty, their devotion. But that wasn't enough. You had to have their children.
Misery shows on York's face.
else was there left to take?
I'm not turning my back on my friends. So a lot of people said, well, I'm going to turn my back on them because, you know, Dr. York said it. I was like, I'm not turning back on people. You're wrong. You did it to them, and they have every right in the world to seek their revenge on. Right. I'm not getting in it. I'm not defending that because I had nightmares for years trying to defend my father against the stuff he did, you know, and I just couldn't anymore, so I just abstained. And I guess my abstinence caused him to create these rumors of my betrayal of him, with my, you know, implications in his arrest. Okay. Right? Which, you know, obviously the most intelligent people know if I was involved in anything related to his arrest, I would be in his discovery. Yeah. Right? But I'm nowhere in it. You know, and the reality of it is I felt that I didn't even have the courage as a young person to stand up against him. I didn't have the courage to do anything about him because I felt like, you know, I don't really play the police game. I don't really play all of that. Right? And I don't know if that was the best decision because I feel like if I had done something at 16 or 17 or 18 years old, maybe another 50 people wouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah. I appreciate your honesty. And I guess what I want to ask you next is, you know, was X-Clan or Zulu Nation intertwined with your father's organizations?
Well, I know Zulu Nation was, and I know that Return to Planet Rock was recorded in my father's studio. I know they were intertwined. Zulu Nation and my dad was intertwined. Okay. Yes.
Did you ever see Africa Bambaataa with, you know, younger males, or was that not?
We all knew that Africa Bambaataa was gay, but we never knew. I can't say I've seen him with little boys. Okay. We all just knew that, you know, the stuff that he did with, I don't know if it's minors per se, but I knew it was with men. Okay. Right, but I didn't know it about minors. I won't say that, but I know that everybody would laugh within the organization about how he likes men. Okay. Right, but we would never discuss. You know, I don't know about the sexual allegation about molesting little boys. I don't know that I've never heard that about Bam, but I know we talked about men. Gotcha. He liked men. Yeah, that's all we talked about. But my dad, we definitely know that he was a child molester. And I heard rumors of it happening in X-Clan. I never witnessed it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I would hear people tell me the story, and Patrice was like one of 3 different people that told me that story. Okay. Right? And, you know, she told me from such a vivid point of view that I was like, wow. You know, and I think that people misunderstand because people go out there like my father, or even Bam, or even what they did with X-Clan, and they go out and they create movement to build a sense of black pride that somehow they're infallible men. You know, so when you think about it, like, just like my father, just like Bam or Zulu Nation, and just like X-Clan, they sold black power. They didn't give it away. They sold it. Very well said. Made albums and, you know, and sold black power. My dad sold books and clothes and shoes, and also they didn't give it away. So let's not misunderstand. These men were businessmen that, you know, seized upon a moment. Now they might have created, you know, they might have done good, which I think my father did good, and I think that, you know, Zulu Nation did good, which I don't question it, and Zulu Nation still does good. And I think some of my father's work is still good. But these are fallible men. And I don't think that asking about it being gay makes him fallible. But if the allegations of sexual molestation, yes, that makes him fallible. Yeah. Well, was your father intimate with Africa Bambaataa? I don't know about that. Okay. I never witnessed it. I can't tell you I've heard that story before. I don't know my father to have, I've never known my father to have adult male lovers, if you understand, per se. From what I've always known it to be was young people. By helping other people, I felt like, and, you know, I helped, you know, it helped me to heal because I did years of therapy based on that. Really? And I personally wasn't ever touched by my dad, but I did years of therapy in dealing with the demons because my father never hid his behavior. I knew he did. Okay. So it's like living with that for years and one day waking up to understand that's just not cool. Yeah. I just feel like stop automatically putting your trust in someone because they sound like they're doing something right? Like have a sense of, you know, instinct, right? You know, we have to understand, like I always tell people, the reason why, you know, these guys are, you know, disappoint so much is because we deal with them as if they're infallible, right? I have people in my family that are torn because they were taught that my father was Jesus Christ. And I kept saying, stop looking at our father as Jesus Christ and look at our father as a man. Right. And then we can accept his mistakes and work towards the healing of that. and helping him out. But when you see him as Jesus Christ, now Jesus Christ is disappointing you, and there's some celestial implications there that you can never, as a human being, fix, right? So when you look at these younger generation, all these guys that sound smart, like I look at this all the time, and I say this. I say, you got all these guys that you probably telling me that's named Prophet and named Imhotep and named all that stuff, and none of them ever been to Egypt, right? None of them couldn't even read the language. None of them can read Amharic. None of them can understand anything about true culture. They just put on masks and they get on TV and they read books and they sound clever.
Okay.
Right? And I think that people are, there's a new generation that can do simple research. Right? And I bet you if you put me across from any one of those guys, I can show you the fallibility in 90% of what they say.
Really?
Right? And that's the truth. And I've done it many a years. I can sit there and tell you this doesn't make no common sense. Because I went out and got education. I've traveled the world. I can speak the languages and I can tell you the fact. Stop being so quick to believe everybody. And because you're in this generation, you have Google. You can easily Google any information. You can Google information about all these people, right? And it, from real content places, like not just like my father's father was putting up a fake blog. I'm talking about real places where you can find information, and just ask a lot of questions and validate these people, before you just begin to follow them. Because ultimately, you're still dealing with a fallible human being.
Can I ask, when's the last time you spoke to your father?
The last time I spoke to my father was 2001. We spoke by phone because he had made some threats towards some of the victims, and he told me, I'm not making any threats. I said, well, you better stop.
Right.
I was like, you better cut it out,
right.
Bruh. Like, that ain't going down. And that's what I told him. And I think that's what made him angry. Because I was supposed to take his side. He was, oh, you ain't taking my side. I said, because you're wrong. I said, I can support you in anything else. I don't care what it is. But when it comes to touching children, you're not going to get any support from me on that.
Right.
And so I'm not going to get involved, per se, but anyone that is around me, or I know, or I might be cool with, you're not making threats towards.
Gotcha.
I don't care who it is.
Gotcha.
And that was our last conversation. I think that was 2001, and I think he was arrested maybe 6 months later. So
Joan and I walked into the command post, and two of our bosses walk out from the back room, and they said, hey, y'all, do you know that your target is moving?
When York's vehicle pulls out of his compound, he is unaware that FBI agents are trailing him.
We learned from radio communication that his vehicle had pulled into a parking lot of a grocery store. The SWAT team was there, and the arrest teams.
So we have not spoken since.
Wow.
And here's the thing, I'm not in a rush, right?
Okay.
I'm not in a rush. He's not sounding sorry. He's not sounding like he's ready to make amends for the destruction. Because, my father did a great thing for the African American community and still destroyed African American kids. It's not like he was out there molesting white kids. Right. He was molesting African American kids. So he's done a lot of damage to his own people, as much as the good he did. And he does not sound like he's ready to say, hey, I want to make amends for it. So until he's ready to acknowledge that he's done wrong and make amends, I'm not in a rush to have a conversation with anyone. Love my father to death because he is my father.
Right.
And that's my father. And people got to understand that's a very, very strong and torn place to be in, not to be able to speak to my own blood father.
Right.
I don't know him as Malachi. I don't know him as, all the stuff they know him as. I know him for who I lived with him in his house.
Yeah.
Right? He poured me breakfast when I was 5. You get it?
Okay.
So I know the man. And for me personally not to be able to speak to him, because I'd rather stand for what I believe is right, and stand by what I think is good. And I think that what people don't understand is until he's ready to say, hey, I'm going to make amends and I'm going to ask the Lord to forgive me, or I'm going to ask the universe to forgive me, and I'm going to try to make amends for people. I can only stand for what I stand for. So for me personally, it's a very strong place that I stand about right and wrong. And believe me, it tore my family apart. Like, most of my family turned their back on me just because my father said what he said, But I accepted that, and I find it to be, I look at Patrice as being strong because a lot of people will turn on you. There's blogs about me. Oh, yeah, he testified against his father. Never once have I ever showed up in court. Actually, you want to hear the irony of it?
Please.
My father attempted to subpoena me.
Okay.
So he actually snitched and told everybody it was me. I never once told anybody. You cannot find one document. Now, everybody knows how the court system works.
Right.
There's not one document, not in his discovery, that shows me The judge kept saying, the guy has nothing to do with the case. Can you stop, trying to bring him involved in it? So my father actually went in court and said it was my fault. So he actually is the snitch.
And just for those who don't know, you referenced discovery. The discovery process is the exchange of information before you get to a deposition.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you in contact with Prince York? I know he was just arrested in Jersey City with regards to allegedly hitting a minor, something to do with his girlfriend's son.
I met him one time in life, right?
Okay.
And that was at one of my brother's funerals who committed suicide, right? His mother was one of my father's abused. I mean, he was one of the proofs of my father's child molestation, because obviously his mother birthed him at 17.
Okay.
He committed suicide a couple of years ago. She actually testified against my dad also, and then recanted her testimony and then testified again. And, and then my brother passed, and I met the guy. His name is not Prince York. I met him, for the first time. He reached out to me and said, hey, I want to meet you. We took a picture together. Okay. And then he went crazy, and then I found out he renamed himself Prince York. But, I mean, we know him to have emotional and psychological issues, because obviously my father was schizophrenic, right? And he had bipolar disorder, right? So some of my siblings have that, to be honest. So,
okay.
The one they call Prince York obviously has emotional issues and abandonment issues, because, we have a Facebook group where we talk amongst each other. He got up in a Facebook group and said some things that he witnessed that I was at, oh, you were there at this point doing this. And I was like, I was in London at that point. So, there was a time, to be honest with you, Star, that my father did not brainwash his kids into the religion. Like my generation, he told us this is a business. We're selling a business. This is a family business. By the time he got to Atlanta, to Georgia, the kids, because I guess he felt like he lost us because we had opinions. Okay. We went to private school. We went to public school. We traveled the world. We existed. So we had an opinion, so we began to verse him. So the next generation, he pretty much brainwashed them. He kept them contained on this land their entire life. He was their total education. So I have siblings that are really emotionally disturbed and believe that he made them believe he was Christ on earth.
Wow.
Right? So that the one that they call Prince York is one of them, right?
Okay.
And he has total emotional disorder. Like, he tells stories based on what my father says or my father tells him, because I think that honestly, and it's a sad thing, he just wants to be loved and he wants to have his father in his life, right?
Gotcha.
And whatever that means, because that's all he was put. You gotta understand, they were on a land where they were fed, ate, breathed, taught to believe that this man was the second coming of Christ.
Right.
And so when that man was snatched out of their lives, there's still a longing for that.
Jacob, I appreciate your time. I thank you for your honesty.
All right, brother.
Thank you for your time.
Take care.